All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another DC Worlds Collide video. And this is Mr. Squirrel. As always, I'm glad to have you back. Love the chat. What I want to make this video, so a lot of people have been asking about more team synergy videos, so I figured I'd make a few more. I've seen other people make some of these videos already, so I don't want to like overlap with them. I do want to just like, people who already made those videos, you can go see them. The other content creators that have made the video, the other, like I think I've seen a few content creators already make some videos on like frostbite, bleed, and burn, and I'm like, those are great. I have a burn one up, but I'm not gonna overlap with other people. I'm trying to just, everyone's doing a lot of great work here on YouTube, and so I want to just kind of encourage, if you see other people doing some other content, great. I haven't seen one for this one yet, so I figured, you know what, I'll create a synergy video for this team, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's get started. So who is the team that I'm looking at today? I'm looking at the healer team, and one of the things I kind of want to highlight about the healer team is that I really don't think it's the best at all. But the thing about it is, as you get into later levels, sometimes it's really hard to kind of like meet the requirements of other teams and the leader skills. Like, I think Lex Luthor's can be a little tricky from time to time, depending on what team you're running, who you're running him with. It can actually be slightly difficult. And I actually find myself sometimes running this team just because it's really easy to hit the leader skill, and those stats are nice. Like, you can't run a team without a leader skill or a team synergy in this game. You just can't. You're gonna be in for a rough time if you're doing that. And so that is Kid Flash, and so he increases the team's healing and how much they get healed by. So there is a few characters that I think are absolutely mandatory when you're running Kid Flash. I think if you are running Kid Flash, you do need to run Constantine, simply because Constantine is sacrificing HP, but he's also giving a heal through the recuperate buff, and that recuperate buff is going to get blocked by Kid Flash, and that makes his healing overall a lot better. Another character that I think is absolutely nutso-butso with this team is going to be Bane. I think Bane is, he gets more healing from Kid Flash. His passive is triggering a lot more, or healing a lot more in the process, and overall it is making him an overall much more tanky character. And to that end, I think a character you need to consider when you're running this team is also going to be Starfire Carol. So I actually straight up forgot her name, and I'm just gonna be full on with y'all. I straight forgot her name. So yeah, I'm not gonna hide that. I straight forgot. So I think with that, she is someone that accumulates healing from the team and then dishes it back out. So she's really good in that regard. And so she's a really good damage dealer with a team that is healing quite a bit. And so there's one more character that I think is interesting on this team, but I think it also is slightly tricky with him, is because he's really weird in the way he operates, is Martian Manhunter, and that. One thing I will highlight about this team is you're going to be very susceptible to burn, because he's pretty much like, he just becomes useless when he gets hit with a burn. So, I mean, right now that's really bad with him. And that means if you see a Superman, you're for a bad time with him. We need someone that can kind of remove a lot of debuffs very quickly. And then I think he would become a little bit more beneficial. This team, I think overall is fine. I don't think it does anything. I've seen a couple people asking me about like healers, and is that a team you want to go with? I will forewarn you, with this team, you are going to run into some issues with damage. While Constantine is very good, does a lot of damage, Bane does a decent amount of damage, and I haven't used her enough to give you a lot of feedback. I think she does a pretty decent amount of damage. The thing with Kid Flash is that he's single target healing, he's not AoE healing, and there is an issue with this team in the sense that like Martian Manhunter wants to be the one that's getting healed. Now granted, if you have him running in the front line, he's not a traditional tank, so he is going to take more damage, and so hopefully Kid Flash will heal him. Problem is, if he dies before he can get to that point, especially when you're running high deficits, against high levels with a high deficit, he could be dead before Kid Flash even gets to him, and that's really bad. You don't want that happening. This team really wants AoE healing, and there isn't really an AoE healer. I think when an AoE healer comes out, Martian Manhunter will become a lot better, because it's not dependent on him, hopefully getting hit. And the other thing is, yes, I do think that Constantine with him can be kind of an interesting little combo, because then it's like he sacrifices but gets a recuperate, then that recuperate isn't triggering to everybody else, but then if he dies, it's like, well, there goes that. Again, he's a really interesting, I think there's a lot of potential. I'm gonna call him the potential man. I think there's a lot of potential here, but again, you got to watch out for burn. I think he needs an AoE healer cleanser. If that comes out, I think we'll be in for a good day. So there is that. I think this team overall will work. Do I think it is one of the better teams in the game? No. I think you're going to be running into a lot of issues with damage. So I'm just going to say this. You can pause the video here. Okay, I got these guys. Maybe I can run it. If you you can make it work, make it work. Do I think it's a bad team? No, I don't think it's a bad team at all. I think it's relatively okay. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually move them all back down here because I want to go over a couple different teams. So with Kid Flash, I think you can, this is, remember, Martian Man. Black Manta represents the new Superman because I don't have an image of him yet. And then, so the reason I think these two work really well actually with Kid Flash as team leader skill is because they both heal, especially the new Superman. He heals quite a bit. And that is really good for that healing factor, especially as he gets higher in levels and higher investment. He's healing a lot more after at the end of every, or after when like he comes back around in his turn, he heals through the, he heals like 20% of the damage that was dealt to him. He can be very tanky, very healy, and just really recuperating a lot of health. With this, it's only even getting more. Yeah, he's healing more. I mean, is it like in a crazy amount more? No, but is it, does it make a difference? Yeah, it does make a difference. Same thing with this Superman. He's not healing as much as this one. He's more in the damage mitigation, but again, Kid Flash can keep both of them alive, which makes him really good. But again, they also want to be running with other he wants to be running with other Frostbite characters. Now, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I do think you can run, you can have these two as your frontline tanks. I think another way you can kind of run this, but I do worry about damage with this team, is something like this. This team will be just so tanky, but you're not outputting anywhere near enough damage. So you do run into an issue of, I'm not doing anywhere near enough damage to warrant the use of this team. Which can be kind of problematic. I think one thing to consider is then you could do something like this and then have these two in the front, because remember, they do have a lot of attack power. They are relatively very offensive tanks, so you will be running a high amount of attack on both of them, and burn is scaling on attack. And so then you also have Constantine, who's making them stronger. He's sitting in the back, he's giving that recuperate buff. Overall, it's creating a good day. I think this could work. But again, you are missing some damage here, right? And then as like a person who you could kind of flex into this team is doing relatively a lot of damage. So I'd actually want to create a little bit more defense on this team, or some more of like support. I think this is where this team gets a little wonky, in the sense I think you could run Starfire Carol. Star Sapphire Carol. I don't want to misspeak here. I had a look at her. You're like, you looking at her name? Yep. So I think she could work relatively well on this team. I am just kind of hesitant with this, in the sense that, like, it's okay. It's doing damage. It's doing its thing. Do I think it's absolutely bonkers? No. I think there are better teams you can run than this, but this is just a general idea of what you can do. Again, I think you're going to run into some issues. Will it work? Yeah, it'll work. I think this is like a good off team that you can like make work. But again, I think these two would work way better on like a burn team. So there's that. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this next team, because it's curiosity definitely might kill the cat here, but I don't know what that means. I don't know why I even said that, whatever. So if we look at this, we start running into some kind of real interesting kind of synergy here, in the sense of a Frostbite team. Now, I will say this: if you were doing this, Kid Flash feels very unnecessary. That's too much healing. Like, this is where I have an issue with Kid Flash. Is he's good, his leader skill is good, but it's more of something you use when you're running out of ideas. Not ideas, when you're struggling a little bit, right? I don't think he's going to be the team you really want. Like, he's going to be like, I'm going to main Kid Flash. No, I think we use Kid Flash as a leader to help when we can't like when we're running multiple teams and we need some, and we just don't have the requirements for the other teams, right? Because honestly, if this is the case, then I'm just going to use these three and I'm going to run a Frostbite team, right? With her being the leader. But to that extent, this is not about that. This is about, I think you'll have too much healing here. And then, I mean, could this work though? Maybe. But again, it's like and then if we think about what's her name coming out, Killer Frost, hopefully in the near future, then, I mean, you could do something like this because again, Bizarro is healing a ton. I don't know though. I don't know. I have to think about this one a lot. Overall, though, I think it's okay. I wouldn't say this is anything like super crazy broken. In this case, I actually would just run the Frostbite team instead of with Kid Flash, but this is a video about Kid Flash and his leader skill because, again, I'm just trying to give you guys as many ideas as possible. This is why this team is really wonky in the way it operates, because it's really just kind of an amalgamation of, okay, I can't make the other team, so I'm going to put these guys together and make it work. If you were to ask me right now, what is the best team to run with Kid Flash, and he's your only leader skill you can run, I would put Bane, I would put Constantine, I'd put Star Sapphire Carol, and then honestly, many people might not have Martian Manhunter, so he's kind of like, he's good with the team, but you are going to run into some issues there. You really want one more tank here, so there is a lot of different options you can use with the tank. I would try to ideally to go with like another one that might work, because he does heal, is going to be the Penguin, but he's more poison based, but he does work. So this is a very much like an amalgamation team, and the reason I say healing here is because he is healing a lot, right? And if I were to look at that alt order, I'd really want Bane to go first for the stun. I think something like this could work, but again, you want to make sure Penguin is staying alive. I think you want your two tanks to stay alive. I do worry a little bit about damage in this if I'm ulting in this order. Yeah, so I'm really, just give me 1 second. So again, I'm going to just say this. I think this is the team you're going to run if you're running, you're trying to look for a budget team that can operate. It's like sustaining enough. You really, on this team, you need to invest heavily in Constantine and Star Sapphire Carol, because this team is going to struggle with damage. You really need to invest in these two. And I would say, and then really make him your main tank. These two will be, you really need to invest in all of this to make it work. I think there are better options, but if this is all your like, let's just say you just pulled a ton of these characters off of the mother box, I mean, could this work? Yeah, it'll take you through the campaign. I would try to pivot out of this team as time goes on though, and I think this will be good for the early game, maybe late game. I just think it needs a better, I mean, he can work. You should put some block, you put block on him. I would put block on him too. And then just kind of roll with it and see what happens. I just think you want to be careful with this team. There are way better options. Yeah, it works though. Not that it's gonna be terrible. And again, I will just say this: this game is all about investment. So, I mean, any team can. I mean, well, that's strong wording. You can make a lot of teams work as long as you really, really, really invest in them with like good tanks, good sustain, good damage, which is just good team. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm thinking right now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this helps. I've gotten a lot of questions about this team. That's why I'm making this video right now. I've just gotten a ton of questions about it, and I want to make sure I steer you in the right direction. So other than that, have a great day, folks. And remember, failing is just your first attempt in learning.